That was loud. Good evening, everybody, and welcome into the Schomburg Library. That was weird. Okay, cool. Welcome into the Schomburg Library. My name is Chris. I'm your Adult Programs Coordinator here at the library, and I'm so happy to be spending my evening with you tonight. Before I formally turn things over to today's presenter, so you can get on with the reason you're here tonight, just a few friendly reminders for both our in-person and our at-home audience. For our at-home audience, your Zoom cameras and microphones have been turned off. And if you have any questions today during the program, please throw those in the Q&A. Our speaker will be addressing some questions as she goes along, but we'll also take some at the end. So if you have any, just throw them there and we'll address them as we kind of go along when she stops us, and of course at the end. And if you're having any technical difficulties at home, use the Q&A as well. That's the best way for me to be able to filter out any chatter you might be having and be able to go one-on-one back and forth with you. Make sure I don't miss any problems you're having, and I can help you as best I can. For our in-person audiences, like I said, Stacy will be taking questions as she goes along, so she'll stop along the way and ask if you have questions. So wait for those opportunities, and of course at the end we'll do some more Q&A as well. I'd also like to ask at this time that you take a moment to silence all cell phones and any other electronic device that may make noise during the presentation. And without further ado, I would like to formally introduce tonight's speaker, Stacy Bromann, who is did I say your last name right?
You did.
I got nervous for a second there. Stacy Bromann is a wealth advisor for the Dala Group, a wealth management firm in Hoffman Estates. She has 19 years of experience in the financial service industry and is currently working on her Certified Financial Planner designation through Northwestern University. Everyone please help me in welcoming Stacy.
Thank you so much, Chris. I'm so happy to be with you here tonight at the Schomburg Library to teach you about Social Security. I am, as he said, a wealth advisor for the Dala Group in Hoffman Estates, and about 80% of our clientele is either in retirement or nearing retirement. So Social Security is a very important topic that we really talk about probably every day in our practice, and that's why we really like to provide this education, because we know it's so important. But before I begin, I do want to tell you a little bit more about myself and tell you why I'm so passionate about financial planning. So this is my family. This is my parents, my brother and my sister and myself. I'm the little one in the red dress, but my parents were absolutely amazing. They did everything by the book. They paid their bills, they saved, they got life insurance, they did everything. But they were given some advice that I don't consider to be favorable for them based on life experiences, and it's probably something that all too many families in that position probably took advantage of, or advice that they took advantage of as well. So my mom was a stay-at-home mom. My dad farmed. So in the 1980s, money was tight because of the farm crisis and everything like that, but my mom still stayed at home with us. And the advice that they got, because they weren't replacing my mom's income, was that they should only have $40,000 on her, but $400,000 on my dad. After all, he was the breadwinner, right? Well, we got a curveball in 1990 when my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer, and she unfortunately passed away in 1991. And at a time where so much had been affected for us, the burden of finances honestly shouldn't have been there. After all, my parents did plan for the worst case scenario, but the $40,000 of life insurance that they did have barely paid for the bills that they incurred with the medical expenses and other things while my mom was sick. So there were a lot of hardships that we went through that we didn't have to. But through all of those things, my dad taught me one thing. You can either make yourself bitter, or you can make yourself better. So I choose to do that for my clients, and we learn from the experiences that we've had, and I do that for my family, my family as well. So this is my husband, Brian. We met 23 years ago at Iowa State, and I always have to throw in that shameless plug because that's my favorite picture of when my family was little. But my girls are much older now. So Ava is 13. She's in the 8th grade at Heinemann Middle School in Huntley. And she's into all things sports. She loves to run, she loves to play soccer, and she keeps us on our toes. Ellie, my little one, who has probably grown 2 or 3 inches since that picture this summer, is into horses. So she could not care less about competing, but loves animals and would be on a horseback any day of the week if we let her, and if I lived on a farm still today. But those are my girls, and we just I just really want to impart the financial education that that I've incurred throughout the years onto them as well, so that we can all make the world a better place. But we're going to cover a lot today, but I'm going to start with one of the most important things, which is this folder. It has quite a lot of things in it. I've got some notes for you, which you will want to take along the way, especially if you have any questions, just so you don't lose it out of your mind. I've got a comment card as well, or a contact card, I should say, so that we can exchange information at the end if you'd like with us. We've got a brochure just telling you about our firm a little bit more, and then also a quick reference guide for the different topics that we're going to talk about today, which is quite a lot going on. So we want to talk about Social Security. We're going to talk about the outlook. We're going to talk about who's eligible. We're going to look at a statement. We're going to talk about filing strategies, spousal benefits, ex-spousal benefits, survivor benefits, retroactive benefits, reductions for working while collecting, taxation, and then also how we can help. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is Social Security's outlook. There is a little bit of an uncertain future with America's retirement safety net. So right now, as things stand, the Social Security Fund will have enough to pay out full benefits of 100% scheduled until 2033. When I first started in the financial industry, I was like, oh, 2033, that's like flying cars, like that's Jetson talk. That's forever from now. Well, that's 10 years from now. So things have definitely changed. There's one big reason for why there's to Social Security. So back in 1950, there was 16.5 active workers for every one person receiving Social Security. Today, in 2023, there's 2.8 workers for every one person receiving Social Security. They're projecting in 2033, there will only be 2.3 employees working, or workers for every one person collecting Social Security. So as you can do the math, and as you can assume, the funds going in does not match the funds going out today. So we do think that there's going to have to be some changes made, but I do think politically there would be so much pressure under the sitting president to accommodate those changes and to actually start to make those. I would hate to be the president that was in office when Social Security changed drastically. If they don't make changes, they do estimate that the benefits would reduce by 20 to 25%. But again, until we have reason to think differently, we are optimistic that they will start to make changes down the road when they need to. So who's eligible for Social Security? So a worker who has accumulated a minimum of 40 credits is eligible for Social Security. So what is a credit? You have to earn $1,640 in the year, or I'm sorry, to earn a credit, and you can get up to 4 per year. So that total for this year would be $6,560. So it's not incredibly difficult to get your 4 quarters in, but it goes beyond that. So your benefit is based off of an average of the highest 35 years of earnings. So again, in order to qualify, you have to work at least 10 years, qualifying with 40 credits, but you can obviously work beyond that. If you have worked for 15 years and have 15 years of credits, then you're going to have some zeros in those averages on the 35 years. If you've worked 45 years, they're going to take out your lowest earning years, and they're going to get your average off of your highest 35 years of earnings. So we're going to look at a statement in a little bit, and that'll kind of go through a little bit more of how that works for you. You can also be the spouse of an eligible worker. The ex-spouse who is married at least 10 years to an eligible worker, or a surviving spouse. So, show of hands, who's seen a Social Security statement? Okay, awesome, wonderful. So if you haven't, this is an excellent resource in order to get that party started for you. It's ssa.gov. They don't send them out anymore. They're encouraging you to go online. So what you need to do is either, if you have already established it, you can sign in, or you can sign up and go through the process to get your statement. And we're going to actually look at a little bit more detail of what your statement looks like. So there are some important things on this first part to go through. So first of all, this first part shows you whether or not you've earned enough credits to qualify. So this worker has earned enough credits, they have over 40. So they will be receiving Social Security and they have the ability to earn it through their own work. We'll talk about spousal benefits in a little bit. The next thing that's important that we cover, or that this statement covers, is their full retirement age. So this worker's full retirement age is 67 based on their birth date of April 10th, 1960. So we know that they've qualified, they have at least 40 credits, and we know their full retirement age. The next is what their earnings are. So if this worker is 60, like let's just say that this worker is currently 60, we know that this benefit is going to be based on what their earnings are to date, which is $51,995 per year. So the Social Security Administration is assuming that until this worker starts to collect Social Security, that their income will not drop below that $51,995. That is not saying that that you have to work until you start collecting Social Security, but these numbers on the right side are based on the fact that they're assuming currently that that worker will still continue to earn at least $51,995 until retirement. Does anybody have any questions so far? Okay, so the next thing that this statement shows is what to expect at full retirement age, and you'll see that it goes down if you collect earlier and it goes up if you wait. So again, $1,500 is this gentleman or this person's full retirement age benefit. It goes down by about 6% each year if you collect early, and if you wait beyond 67, it goes up by about 8%. So you can see that this worker would earn just about $1,860 on a monthly basis if they waited to collect. So it is very important to kind of know what your numbers are so that we're making the best decision for you. So the next piece is your earnings record. That's also going to be on your Social Security statement, but you can see right here that it's bunched by decade as you go on. You can go onto the website and actually dig into those numbers, which is important because you do want to make sure that there aren't any zeros where there shouldn't be. If there are zeros in there and you didn't work that year, then obviously it's okay. But if you see any zeros in any of these numbers, and that should not be the case, it's important that you work to get that corrected as quickly as possible. The next question is, how do you correct it? You correct it typically with proving what your tax returns are. So it's important that you do look at these things more often than not. Every 2 to 3 years would be the minimum that we would suggest so that you can make sure that you're not going back into like the 80s or the 2000s to correct the zeros when you probably don't have those tax returns anymore. Okay. Now we're going to talk about Social Security strategies. So strategies are different for married couples and then also individuals. So we're going to talk about an individual first because the math is going to be much easier on that. We're going to build the base and then we'll go from there. So Social Security strategies for individuals. So you can see again that, so this worker, full retirement age is going to be 66. Their full monthly benefit is $2,000, but again, they could start collecting at the age of 62 and start with $1,500. So one of the things that you need to think about when you're filing for Social Security is how much money would I make if I started at 62 versus how much money would I make at 66 and then again at 70, and how long would it take me to make up the difference? So if this worker started to file at age 62, again, their reduced monthly benefit is $1,500 monthly. That works out to $18,000 a year, which is obviously a good sum of money. If they collected that $18,000 for the next 4 years, that's $72,000 gross. How long does it take for someone that delays until 66 to make up that $72,000? Does anybody have any idea? Okay, so we're gonna back up on the math then. So the difference between filing at 62 versus 66 is $500 a month, which is $6,000 a year. So 6,000 divided by 72 is 12 years. So it would take that worker from 66 to 78 approximately to make up that time. But if you have longevity in your family or in your history, it would probably very likely make sense for you to wait those 4 years and take that bump. Next, we're going to take a look at 66 to 70. So the difference from 2,000 to 2,640 is obviously a little bit more significant. And if the worker had started collecting at 66, that's $96,000 that they need to make up for. And the difference on an annual basis is $7,680. The difference again is about 12 and a half years. So instead of 60 or 78, they have to really be about 82 and a half in order to make up that difference. There are other things you need to consider. This is just straight cash. If you're still working, we'll talk about that in a little bit. It's not always advantageous to collect at age 62 if you're still earning money. Also, if you're investing the money or doing something different with it, obviously sitting out there. So there are some different things that you want to consider as well. But this is the starting off point, a strategy of one that's going to benefit me to turn that on. Now, filing strategies for married couples are a little bit different. So again, there's two different things that you can do for a married couple in order to file for Social Security. So you can file for your own benefits, or you can also file for spousal benefits. We're going to talk about the difference in just a second. So Tom and Mary, an average married couple, probably very similar, especially there's a difference in earnings, but let's say that Mary stayed home with the kids for a while and then went to work. She does qualify on her own. Her full retirement age is 66, just like Tom's. Her benefit at full retirement age is $1,200. Tom's full retirement age, also 66, but his full retirement age benefit is $2,500. So we're going to take a look at what spousal benefits are and whether or not it would make sense for Mary to file on her own or on her spousal benefit. So how do you qualify for spousal benefits? So you must be at least age 62 or older in order to qualify. You must have been married for at least 1 year. Your spouse must also file for Social Security benefits before you file. And if claimed at your full retirement age, the spousal benefit would be 1/2 of your spouse's full retirement age benefit. So we're going to get back to Tom and Mary in just a second. But the spousal benefit, this is very important. The spousal benefit is permanently reduced if you claim it before reaching full retirement age. So again, you can file at 62, but that's not always going to be in your best interest because your benefits are going to be permanently reduced if you retire or if you claim early. So going back to Tom and Mary. So Tom, again, his full retirement age is 66. Mary's is the same, but obviously there's a little bit of a difference in their age. So what if Mary wants to start to claim early? Tom claims his full retirement age at 66. Mary wants to claim her benefit at 63. Does she get her benefit or does she get Tom's benefit? Does anybody know?
Hers.
She could file still on his as well. So if
As long as she's working.
So she could file on hers or she could file on his. If Tom is already filed though, she's going to get half of his and then she'll take that reduction for filing early, but it would still be beneficial to take the spousal benefit versus taking her own. So just to give you the numbers, if she filed early at 63, she would get $1,025 a month at 63, which is 18% less than what her spousal benefit would be if she turned it on early. So again, her spousal benefit would be half of Tom's. So that would be $1,250 a month because that's half, so higher than what hers is. But then again, she's taking an 18% reduction because she's turning it on early.
That's permanent.
That is permanent, 100%. Now, what if Tom waits? A lot of couples have the higher earner actually wait to turn on their benefits so that they're guaranteed the higher survivor benefit later on. So what if Tom waits until age 70? What happens to Mary's benefit? She would, if she filed before Tom reached age 70, so if Tom's age 70 and he's waiting, and she files at her full retirement age, she's going to collect her own benefit for a year. Tom will wait until 70. At age 70, his benefit is $3,300 a month, which is very significantly different than the $2,500. So he's gonna wait. She's gonna claim her own benefit for the first year, and then when he turns his on, her benefit will increase to the $1,250 rather than the $1,200, because she can't file the spousal benefit until he's filed also, no matter what their age is. Does that make sense? Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I was told a few years ago that you could not switch. They put a rule in that you had to decide you could take either or, but you couldn't go from one to the other. So if she decided to take her own, she could not later change, get half of her husband.
So I think you're maybe, so the question, I'm gonna repeat it, is that you can't switch back and forth from your own benefit to a spousal benefit or anything like that. And you're correct. You're talking though, I think maybe about file and suspend, which is something that they eliminated.
Right.
So she's not filing and suspending, she would be filing, and then once Tom turns his on, then she's gonna receive the step up because of the spousal benefit. So she's not cheating anything or anything like that, but the spousal benefit for her is actually more beneficial. She just can't use the spousal benefit if Tom hasn't filed.
So she could still get hers.
Yes.
Hers, and she was stuck with that the rest of the time.
So the file and suspend is a little bit different, but she would have filed then on his and waited for hers to pile up, which you can't do. But because the spousal benefit for her would be better when he turns his on, then she can still do that.
Stacy?
Yes.
There's an online question
Sure.
that, in my brain, tangential, because
Sure.
I'm not a Social Security expert,
That's okay.
so please tell me if you're going to address this later. Can you talk about a widow's benefits from her
Yes.
deceased spouse's Social Security benefits? The widow does not have her own Social Security, but is working.
Yes, we will talk about that in just a second.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay. So ex-spousal benefits come next, and there's a few differences between spousal benefits and ex-spousal benefits, and we're gonna highlight those differences. So as a divorced spouse, you may still be entitled to Social Security benefits based on your ex's work record. The three big things that you need to know for that is that you have to have been married for at least 10 years to your ex-spouse. So if you were married 7.5 years and got divorced, unfortunately you would not qualify for ex-spousal benefits. You have to be at least 62 or older, and your ex-spouse has to also be at least 62 or older. And then the last one is that the filer has to be unmarried. It doesn't matter if the ex-spouse has remarried, but the filer has to be single at the time of filing. Now, the one thing that we didn't mention here is that the spouse has to have already filed for Social Security. That was eliminated to eliminate some drama. I'm sure that you know some couples that have gotten divorced and it's went smoothly, and then I'm sure you also know some couples that want to stick it to each other and will do anything that they can to make their ex suffer. So they've eliminated that, and as long as each, the filer as well as their ex-spouse are at least 62, they can file for Social Security regardless of whether the other has filed. And one other important thing, if someone has had multiple marriages and they're at least married for 10 years, even if it's multiple spouses and they're unmarried at the time that they're filing, they will actually be able to talk to Social Security and find out which is going to be best for them. So, not always an advantage, but it could be. So the next is survivor benefits. Oh, sure.
The person who collected from their ex-spouse, was unmarried and collected from the ex-spouse, and then they married someone else, would they be able to collect from the ex-spouse once they married?
Okay, so the question was, if someone was divorced and collecting an ex-spousal benefit, if they get remarried, can they file on their new spouse's Social Security benefit?
No, are they still entitled to their ex-spouse? Will they lose it?
Oh, I'm sorry, thank you. Thank you for clarifying that. So if they get remarried, will they lose their ex-spousal benefit? So once they've turned on Social Security, I do not believe that they will lose that. I will double check on that for you and make sure, but I don't believe that as long as they've filed, because again, at this point, you're 62 or older. Once you've turned on Social Security, it's turned on.
Okay, I have a question.
Sure.
I have no contact with my ex-spouse. So how do I find out if he's filed or not? He's old enough.
So the question was, I don't have contact with my ex-spouse. How do I find out if he's filed? You know his age, right?
Mm-hmm. I know his Social Security number.
That's all you need to know.
Good deal.
That's all you need to know. He doesn't need to know. He won't know that you filed. It won't affect his life in any way. You file, so what you do is when you're calling Social Security, you'll let them know I'm filing. I know that I might qualify on my own, but I also know that I might qualify on an ex-spousal benefit, and I need to analyze what's going to be best for me. And they'll walk through it with you. Call a local office or make an appointment with a local office. The 800 number, like the general 800 number, isn't super helpful with that usually.
Okay. Another question.
Sure.
This is very complicated, but X files on your spouse's, okay, say they're unmarried, they filed, and then you're gonna end up filing on your spouse's benefit when they retire. This can't happen until they retire, correct?
So I'm going to rephrase, or I'm going to repeat the question and make sure. So if filing on your spousal benefit, and your
Ex-wife also filed on the spouse.
okay, so I'm going to use names just to make it clear. So Tom and Mary. Mary files her spousal benefit, but Tom was previously married to Felicia.
Okay, great.
And Felicia wants to also file on Tom's benefit. Is that correct?
Yes.
Both of them can actually file their spousal benefit.
It doesn't reduce it at all?
Nope.
Okay.
No, it does not reduce. Did you have a question as well? No? Okay. All right. Any other questions before we move on? Okay. So survivor benefits. A little bit different again. There's a few caveats, so we're going to talk through them. So the survivor benefit is based on the earnings of the person who passed away. It can be actually reduced so the survivor benefit can actually be reduced till age 60. So rather than waiting until 62, you can actually file at 60. It's very important to remember, though, that there are earnings limits that we're going to talk about in just a minute, but also that would be reducing your benefit 12% more because it's 6% a year. So if you're claiming at 62 on a survivor benefit, you would be taking a fairly significant reduction in the total benefit. It still might be the right move, but it would be something that we would talk through if that situation applied to you. If you remarry before the age of 60 and are still married when filing for benefits, you do forfeit your survivor benefit. And this is the only time that you can actually switch back and forth, but you can switch from survivor benefits to your own benefit or vice versa at any time. So just to give you an example, if my husband passed away and I needed that income, I could file my survivor benefit at age 60 and wait for my benefit to increase up until 70 when I hit my maximum, and then switch over when it was more advantageous for me to switch over. The survivor benefit is the only time that you can actually switch over. Do you want to make sure that that answered the question?
They haven't said anything yet.
Okay.
If it doesn't, I'll let you know.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah?
So 70 is the max.
70 is the max.
72, 74,
Correct.
doesn't matter.
Correct. So I'm gonna just repeat that. So 70 is the maximum in order to file for Social Security. You can wait if you wanted to, but it doesn't benefit you to wait after 70 anymore. Any other questions? Okay. So there are other sources of retirement income that could potentially affect your Social Security, and that would be public pensions, which would, so public pensions, we're talking teachers like TRS. We're talking firefighters, policemen, anyone that's receiving a public pension. I used to work with a lot of people that worked for AT&T or like GE and things like that. They also have a pension. However, they paid in fully to Social Security throughout their working years because they were working for a private company, not a public company. So they would still get their full Social Security as well as their pension. The windfall elimination provision and the government pension offset apply to people that did not pay into Social Security when they were working their main job. Again, teachers, firefighters, like police officers, things like that, they're not contributing to their pension fund as well as Social Security. So they do have some things that affect their retirement benefits when it comes. That is something, there are calculations that go into it. We're not going to dive into that. If that does apply to you, come see me at the end so that we can kind of talk through how that works for you. Okay. So has anyone heard of retroactive benefits? No? Okay. So this only applies if you're actually over your full retirement age. So for most people in this audience, it's going to be at least 67. But let's just say that you're 68 and a half and you start to turn on your Social Security. They actually will offer you, when they're going through your benefits package, they'll offer you a lump sum payment of 6 months of retroactive benefits. So let's just say again, if your benefit is $2,000 a month, that they would offer you $12,000 as a lump sum. But the caveat with that is that you're then backdating your Social Security those 6 months that they're paying you in lump sum. So if you are waiting for your benefit to increase, you are locking in that lower rate by taking that 6 months lump sum. So there are things that we would talk through to make sure whether or not that was a wise choice for you, but it is an option that they will offer when you turn on your Social Security. So inflation has been a very big topic lately, and inflation does affect the cost of living adjustments with Social Security. So back in 1980, when I was born, inflation was super high, if you all remember, and the cost of living adjustment was 14.3%. We have not seen that again in the last 43 years, but 2023 was actually 8.7%. So there have been some significant adjustments to the cost of living with Social Security. There have also been times that I'm sure we all remember when the cost of living did not increase whatsoever for Social Security as well. So 2009, 2010, and also 2015 were very low inflationary times. So there were some times that they did not increase the cost of living, but then 2023 obviously made up for that a little bit. This year they do, they're saying that 2024 is going to be 3.2%, I believe. So there will be some cost of living, but it won't be as significant as 2023. Now, we talked earlier about you can file at 62. It is possible. However, you actually, if you're collecting Social Security while you're still working, there's income earning limits that you have to think about. So if you're fully under your retirement age, so you're, let's just say 62, your earnings limit right now in 2023 is $21,240. That's not a lot. I know most people I know that work full-time are making more than $21,000 a year. So then, what happens if I make $40,000 a year? How is my Social Security affected? So I'm going to use more even numbers just for easier math, but if you're making $40,000 a year, they are going to tax $1 for every 2 that you're over that $21,240. So again, $40,000 a year. I'm just going to say $21,000 because it's a little easier for division, but that's $19,000 over what you're allowed. So if they're taking out every $2 for every 1 that you're over, you're 4.5 months you'd be 4.5 months without Social Security if your earnings were $2,000 a month. So that means that you would not receive Social Security in January, February, March, or April. You'd receive $1,000 in May, and then you'd receive your full benefit for the rest of the year. To some people, that difference in income is still very important that they'd get for the rest of the year, but to others, it would make more sense to wait until their full retirement age, or at least they're not working anymore. So it does change a little bit in the year of your full retirement age. They're a little bit more gracious with your earnings limit. If you had a December birthday, you would be able to earn $56,520 that year and still claim your Social Security without having penalty. They divide that by 12. So if you're a March birthday, your earnings limit is going to be much different. But they do make up for that by letting you earn a little bit more in your full retirement year age. However, the best thing to do if you're still working is to actually wait until you're totally in your full retirement age. So for me, I'm a September birthday. I would wait to file until my birthday, and then I wouldn't have to worry about them taxing my Social Security any extra. I would retain 100% of my benefit. Any questions? Okay. So the federal taxation of Social Security benefits is a little bit different than the penalty if you're collecting while earning. So the federal taxation of Social Security is based on your provisional income. Your provisional income is your adjusted gross income. In addition, we're taking non-taxable interest and then also half of your Social Security benefit. So let's do some math and kind of work through that. So provisional income thresholds are different for single people versus married filing jointly. If a single person files Social Security and earns, again, with their adjusted gross income, which would be wages, taxable and non-taxable interest, dividends, pension, self-employment, and other taxable income, and half of their Social Security benefits, $25,000 adds up really quick. But anything below $25,000 and all of their Social Security income would be income tax free. For a married couple filing jointly, it would be $32,000 or below. If you're in this middle group of either $25,000 to $34,000 for a single person or $32,000 to $44,000 for a married couple, 50% of your Social Security would be taxable. And most couples are gonna fall above the $44,000, but doesn't have to be that way. We're gonna talk about that in a minute. And single people, if they're above $34,000 again for their provisional income, then 85% of their Social Security is going to be taxable. Now, does that mean that your Social Security is taxed at 85%? No. Your tax that you're gonna pay is still your normal tax bracket, whether that be 12, 22, 24, wherever you fall, but up to 85% of your benefit would be considered taxable, yes.
Do these numbers change from year to year?
Yes, so the question was, do these numbers change from year to year? And yes, they do. They don't always change significantly, but they do change. So we're gonna talk about couple one and couple two and the difference of their income and the difference of how it's taxed. So couple one is pulling money from a traditional IRA, whereas couple two is gonna pull their money from a Roth IRA. They both earn $67,000 a year total. However, as you can see on the bottom, there's a really large difference in their Social Security taxability. So they both get $5,000 a year from their CDs, which is actually very realistic right now in the interest rate environment, very easy to do if you have liquid cash. They also have $10,000 of dividend income, so from stocks and things like that. They're earning $5,000 of tax-free bond income. Couple one, as we stated earlier, has $25,000 coming from their traditional IRA, whereas couple two has that same $25,000 coming from a Roth IRA. They both receive $22,000 a year in Social Security. The difference, though, in their provisional income is very significant. It's the $25,000 in the Roth IRA versus the traditional. Does anybody know the difference between the Roth IRA and the traditional IRA?
Roth IRA is tax-free dollars.
Correct. The Roth IRA is tax-free dollars. So you've paid taxes on that money before you put it into the Roth IRA. So when it comes to retirement, that Roth IRA is going to be tax-free, but it's also making a very significant difference in your Social Security taxability as well. Now, we've covered a lot. Does anybody first have any questions? Yeah.
Question I did have, where
Sure.
you were talking about the provisional, Social Security was half of it.
Correct.
So you took half of your Social Security for the provisional.
Correct.
But yet when you went to how much you had to pay of the tax on that,
Yes.
you have to pay
Up to 80.
taxes up to 85%. So
Correct.
at the front end, they're only looking at 50%. So they've got to rework the numbers back in to know how much of your Social Security you end up getting taxed on, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. So he said that while 50% of your Social Security is in the computation for your provisional income, it can still add up to 85% taxable in the benefit, and that is correct. So I think we call that US Treasury math or something like that. I don't know. It's not girl math and it's not guy math, but it is it's how they have written the tax code, and that is how they define it. Any other questions? So we've talked about a lot, and I know that not everything that we talked about applies to you each individually. However, I know that there's probably at least one or two things that we've talked about tonight that would apply to all of you. So we like to offer you a consulting session in order to kind of get those questions answered and make sure that you're making the right choice for you. So what we would offer to you is a 1-hour consulting session. That hour is actually valued at $325. During that time, we would uncover specific planning opportunities for you with your taxes, as well as explore your Social Security filing options. You can sign up for that by filling in this contact card. If you're online, there is also a link to our website. What we would ask for you to bring is your Social Security benefit statement, as well as your investment account statements. If you're digital, I also have a QR code that will take you right to our scheduler so that you can access that as well. And other than that, if you have any other questions, if you've thought of anything, I would love to address it with you now. Yeah.
There's always the argument between people that file for Social Security at the early age.
Correct.
That they'll never see the income if they wait. How do you respond to that?
So her question is, there's always an argument that people that believe that filing early is the best way to go because you'll never see that income again in your lifetime. And I would go back to that, and it would honestly be, again, what we talked about. If you're still working, then that might not be the best choice for you because you've got the earnings limits while you're still working. So that's number one. So we would talk about that. And then we would also talk about longevity. Nobody knows or has a crystal ball as far as when your last day is going to be. But if you're relatively healthy and you have a fairly good reason to believe that you'll have a long, healthy life, then it might still be beneficial for you to wait to file so that you can collect more over time. If you live until you're 95, I don't think that you'd regret that decision. However, nobody knows when your final days are, so it really is your best educated guess. And it's also based on what you have otherwise as far as other investment income would be, so that we know if you can cover your bills at age 62 or if it would be best to wait until 65 or 70. Yeah.
So kind of piggybacking off of that.
Sure.
There's statistics out there. Actuaries, I mean, that's where they make
Yeah.
a living, and they work for a lot of insurance companies and determine based on, you know, what people do and how long they're going to live. Granted, you know, compared to even 50 years ago, our life expectancy has increased quite a bit.
Correct.
With hospital, healthcare, all of that. But you can still pull in the statistics and say, okay, hey, you know what a person, if they took it at 62, compared to if they took it at 70, at what point, what threshold, you know, do they finally break even? And then likewise, when a person if you took the population right now at the age of 62,
Mm-hmm.
what is the percentage of them that would come out to be, still alive at 84? You know what I'm saying? So there's still numbers out there.
Absolutely.
And a person having that knowledge can make a better decision, yes.
Sure.
Life-wise, the life expectancy for somebody, you can base it on what it is in your family, but, things happen,
They do.
Cancer is increasing, heart failure is increasing, all of those are kind of increasing, so it can change that.
Yeah.
But just to know, for a person, saying, okay, I know that this is the threshold where they break even, but
Yep.
what is the general population's life expectancy? What percentage? Is it, only 20% of the people are going to live till then, or 60% of the people? Makes a big difference.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
I just want a clarification on.
Sure.
I'm one of those, I'll be 62 and I'm gonna start collecting.
Okay.
I retired 7 years ago.
Okay.
And I have a pension.
Sure.
So once I start collecting my Social Security,
Mm-hmm.
I can't collect on my husband if we're still married, or that half?
So if he hasn't filed yet, so I'm going to go back and repeat the question. So she is age 62 and can start filing. She's not working, so she doesn't have to worry about the income limitations. Can she still file as the spousal benefit if she files at 62? So you cannot file your spousal benefit until your spouse has already filed. So if, so let's just say that you guys are both 62 and he waits until 66 or 67, because that would be his full retirement age. If you still choose to file at 62, that's totally fine. You would collect on your own benefit. And when he files, if the spousal benefit is higher, then you can collect that. But not until he's already filed, because you can't you cannot file a spousal benefit unless he's already filed. Do you have a question?
Yeah, can you go back to that one slide that you had up there about how the tax AGI and whatever? You had one before that. Yeah.
Perfect. So your provisional income, again, is your adjusted gross income. So that would be like your W-2, 1099, things like that. Tax or non-taxable interest, which would be like from municipal bonds. And then half of your Social Security benefit.
Okay. And that becomes the provisional.
Correct. That becomes the provisional income that then goes through and says, okay, if you're single or head of household or married filing separately, if your Social Security, if your provisional income is less than $25,000, then your Social Security is not taxed. And if it's above $34,000, then up to 85% of your Social Security would be taxed.
And then that gets adjusted every year.
Mm-hmm.
So like if you, maybe the first year you're still working, you're part-time.
Yep.
Could be falling, whatever.
Yeah.
The next year, if you fully retire, then.
Yes.
Could go, okay.
Yeah, so just to provide the rest of the questions in there, your provisional income absolutely can change down the road if you file and you're still working versus down the road if you're filed still but you're no longer working and you don't have that other, like the income of your wages and things like that, your provisional income could absolutely change.
I thought that if you filed 70 or older, that your earnings were not taxed. There was a certain level where once you filed, you don't tax your earnings. What is that? Is that incorrect?
So her question is, if you file at 70 or older, that your earnings aren't taxed. So I'm going to go back to this slide. So it's actually your full retirement age. And it's not that your earnings aren't taxed. You don't have a penalty based on your earnings if you file and still work. So if you're, again, let's just say for 62, if you file at 62 and you're making $40,000 a year, they will withhold 4.5 months or whatever that works out to be. They will withhold that from your Social Security because you're still working and earning over that $21,240. If you're in the year of your full retirement age, your earning limits are higher, and instead of two one for every $2 that you're working, they penalize you one for every $3. So it's a much larger difference if you're in the year of your full retirement age. And then after your full retirement age, again, so for me it's September. If I file in September, then I can retain 100% of my Social Security benefit no matter how much I earn. But your taxes, totally different, yes. The taxes are based on your provisional income. Yes.
Okay, so I'm 65 already, mine's
Okay.
66/8.
Okay,
So, and I'm also a September birthday.
happy autumn birthdays.
Thank you. I'm thinking of waiting until January of the next year.
For the cost of living increase?
Or, I don't want Medicare to know I'm alive, and I don't want these guys to know I'm alive either. Because the amount of mail and the amount of information is just,
Quite a lot, yeah.
but would it make more sense to wait till I'm 66/8? My birthday's the last day of the month. So would I file 10/1 and then go, or would I file the next year?
So, okay, so her question is, she wants to wait and file until probably January of following when she reaches full retirement age, which is not fully 77. So are you asking if you wait to make the call? Or like set up the appointment?
To file 10/1?
Are you, so your birthday, you're 66 and 8 months, and you want to file
On
the,
May 30th, 2025.
oh, yeah, okay.
Got it already figured.
Yeah, I gotcha.
So do I wait until then? Do I, like, instead of May 30th, June 1st, would I file? Or would I file when I'm still in my full retirement age year?
So do you want to wait? Like my question is, do
As long
you,
as possible.
then wait until, I mean, if you can wait until 70, I would wait until 70 then.
Okay. So that's an option, okay,
Yeah, you can wait until 70,
without penalty.
correct.
Okay.
Now, if you're insurance, like if you have health insurance and you're still working, then you can wait even on your Medicare.
Yeah, because they keep saying, go ahead and, file it now, and they'll just piggyback it because I'm working and I still have health insurance. No, because it's open enrollment and whatever, but if I don't apply for A, am I penalized?
Not if you're still working and you are fully covered.
Cool.
And I actually do have an insurance specialist right here today, so if you have any questions with Medicare, you can let her know. But yeah, no, you can wait to even file Medicare until you're done working. So as long as you're covered by health insurance, you don't have any penalties.
And that has to be the credible more than how many other people.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
We
Yep.
qualify.
Stacey, I have a couple online questions.
Absolutely.
Does my wife collect half of mine at full retirement age, or half when I turn 70?
So it's half of your full retirement age.
No matter when they do it.
Correct.
Cool, thank you. And then the other question is, does a widow get 100% of her deceased spouse's Social Security benefits if she waits until 70?
Okay, so that's a loaded question. And that depends on whether or not the spouse filed. So if, to use like my husband and I as an example, if he filed at 65 or 66, even if I'm waiting, I still collect, like if he turned it on, then I collect what he turned on.
Gotcha.
If it's a spousal benefit, like if it's the deceased spouse benefit, then if he turned it on, I collect what he turned on.
Their spouse
However,
passed away at 61.
okay, so they never collected then?
Oh, I guess.
Then,
Makes a difference.
yeah, then that makes a difference. So then they would still get the benefit at least up until full retirement age.
Okay.
So let,
Oh.
to ask a question on that question, so if I die at 65 and I didn't turn it on, how does she turn on the spouse?
She doesn't.
Collect.
So there's nothing to collect from.
So the question is, if a husband passes away at 65, let's say that his wife has already turned her Social Security on, but he never turned his on, can his wife collect on his Social Security? The answer is yes. She could again wait, if she already turned hers on, she could wait and receive the full spousal benefit if she waited until full retirement age. It would depend on the situation. If she turned it on early, then she's taking still a reduction, but it would be obviously still, if the spousal benefit is higher than her benefit, or the deceased spouse benefit would be higher than her benefit, then it still might be advantageous for her to turn it on if she's not earning and things like that. All good questions. Keep them coming.
What about Social Security disability income?
So typically, once, like for Social Security disability income, there's almost just like it's a very smooth transition because you're receiving disability, you're not earning anything more during that time. So at some point, at full retirement age, you would transition from the disability income to just your Social Security benefit, and then you would no longer have to qualify. When you have disability, SSDI, you have certain qualifications as far as income is concerned and things like that, that you have to prove that you're not earning over a certain amount and things like that, or also that you're truly disabled. So those requirements fall off once you're under full retirement age, and you just switch over to your full retirement age benefit, which is typically equivalent to what the disability was.
But if you're receiving Social Security and you become disabled?
Then you get the higher benefit. If you're receiving Social Security and you become disabled, but you've already turned on your Social Security, then unfortunately, if you're also working, then you would lose most of that income.
But if you're not?
If you're not working, then unfortunately you have a disability, but it wouldn't change your Social Security.
Okay.
All good questions. Any other ones? No audience? Okay, well, cool. Yes?
I thought, answering this lady's query, I thought at 65 you have to apply for Plan A Medicare.
They want you to, and they encourage you to, but you do not have to. So one thing that changes if you do turn on your Medicare Part A is that if you have an HSA at work, you no longer qualify for it, because with Social Security, like with Medicare Part A, you're not under a high deductible plan any longer. So in some cases, it's actually not advantageous for you to turn on Part A. They will encourage you to do so.
Oh, yeah.
And I did at 65 and I got penalized.
Were you covered by other insurance?
Yes, but I didn't have an HSA.
Okay. If you were covered by other insurance and it met all of their qualifications, then as long as you were covered by other insurance, you should not have been penalized.
But the company has to have so many numbers.
Yeah, there's qualifications that you have to meet.
It's really specific what is covered, and
Yeah.
as long as you meet that, then they can't do anything. However, they keep telling us that, yeah, you need to.
They really do encourage you to do it.
And they keep saying, well, it's no big deal, it's just like an umbrella, because maybe it'll help you pay, something if you need it.
Correct.
Well, yeah, but it might really bite you too. So like I said, I don't want Medicare to know I'm alive, but yes.
They know you're alive, though.
Unfortunately, that a Social Security number, they know.
Yeah, they know.
Exactly. But, I mean, it's, the amount of information that comes from things like this is just, it's amazing. But then you've got, open enrollment comes, and like I said to one guy, I said, does this mean all the stuff is gonna stop? The calls are gonna stop? My cell phone rings off the hook. My mailbox is crammed full. I have a stack like this
Yeah.
of, the insurance companies and whatever, and it's like, it's not gonna stop because they keep wanting you to do,
Marketing.
Just do that, and it's like,
Yeah.
how do you know what decision to make that you're not gonna get screwed?
I think with insurance, if you're worried about making the right decision, it's making sure that you're talking to someone that's actually very educated on it so that they can have a thorough discussion with you as far as what your needs are and what coverage is available. I think that's the biggest important thing, is to make sure that you're working with a trusted agent that is going to lead you in the right direction and actually be honest about everything.
Okay.
We're wrapped up. Obviously, I'll take any more questions that you have, but if anybody has to go, it's totally fine. But again, if you would like to meet with us, please give me the comment card, or also I can go back to the QR code and we